to this week's on-demand learning video. In English this week, we have been looking at sentence types. There are three main types of sentence we may use in our writing. These are simple, compound, and complex. A simple sentence contains one main idea or clause. It must contain a subject and a verb. Here is an example. I jumped in the air. The subject here is I, and the verb is jumped. A compound sentence contains two main ideas or clauses, both of which can stand alone and make sense on their own. They are usually joined by a coordinating conjunction. We remember coordinating conjunctions by the mnemonic fanboys: for, and, nor, but, or, yet so. I jumped in the air, but I fell over. Both I jumped in the air and I fell over make sense on their own, and they are joined by the conjunction but. A complex sentence must contain at least two clauses, one which is a main clause and stands on its own, making sense, and one which is subordinate and doesn't make sense on its own. We can use I space to help us come up with different subordinate clauses to either start, end, or be embedded in our sentences. When I was feeling happy, I jumped in the air. I jumped in the air is the main clause here, the bit that makes sense by itself. The subordinate clause at the start of our sentence is when I was feeling happy. You can see that between these two clauses we need a comma. We might also use a white plus and subordinating conjunctions as a way of remembering some ways we can start our sentence. Let's look in a bit more detail at I space. The I in I space stands for ing. Feeling happy, I jumped in the air. We have used an ing clause here, using the word feeling to start our subordinate clause. The S in I space stands for simile. Like a hero, I jumped in the air. Our simile here is like a hero, comparing something to something else. The P in I space stands for preposition. On the 15th of March, I jumped in the air. A preposition tells us where or when something happened. The A stands for adverb. Happily, I jumped in the air. Happily is an adverb as it's describing the way the verb is taking place. Happily is describing the way the jump is taking place. Or a conjunction. When I arrived at work, I jumped in the air. Here is our conjunction when. It is a subordinating conjunction, and we might also refer to these as a white plus. Or we can use an ED word. Shocked at the result, I jumped in the air. ED word here is shocked. In maths this week, we have been focusing on adding and subtracting integers, working with 6 and 7-digit whole numbers to use our formal methods of column addition and subtraction. You can see here an example on the screen of a column addition. 709,317 add 262,175. We always start in our smallest column, which is our ones or our units column. 7 ones add 5 ones is 12 ones. And you can see here that 12 ones is too big to go in this column, so we've had to make an exchange and move our 10 across into the next column. We've then had to be really careful adding our tens column. 1 10 adds 7 tens is 8 tens, but we've got the additional 10 from our previous column we need to add on, which makes 9 tens. Our hundreds is 3 hundreds add 100, which is 4 hundreds. And then again, you can see that when we've added 9,000s and 2,000, we've ended up with 11,000, which means we need to push our extra 10,000 across into the next column, making sure that when we add here, we don't forget to add that on. The total here of these two numbers is 971,492. We've also been working on our taking away. And you can see here the subtraction calculation for the same numbers. 709,317 take away 262,175. Just like with addition, we start in our ones or units column and we subtract those two numbers. 7 take away 5 is 2. With our tens, you can see that we have a smaller digit on top. 1 10 take away 7 tens. So we can't do this, which means we need to create an exchange from our hundreds column. Crossing out the 300, changing that to 200, and exchanging that extra 100 for 10 tens. We now have 11 tens take away 7 tens, which gives us 4 tens. We must be really careful that we make that crossing out clear, so that in our hundreds column, we don't add the 3, we take away 200, 100 from 200, leaving us 100. Our thousands column is quite straightforward, but you can see that it gets tricky when we get to our tens of thousands column, because actually we've only got none in there in the top number, and we've got 6 in the bottom number. We can't do 0 10,000s take away 6 10,000s, so we need to carry out another exchange from our 100,000s column. This means we can have 10 10,000s take away 6 10,000s, leaving us with 4 10,000s. You can see our answer here is 447,142. We've also done some work this week looking at inverse and calculating missing number problems. You can see here we've got a bar model problem. And on the top, we've got A plus 116,810 plus 173,449 equals the total, the bottom bar, the green bar, 307,664. In order to work this out, we first of all need to add together the two numbers we've got, which equals 290,259. We could do a column method for this. Once we've got this total, we can take this away from the total we've got, 307,664, to find our missing number.